AITA for saying my parents' car loan isn't my problem after they called my son a burden? My name is Claudia and I am 32 years old. I grew up invisible. My sister Eva was the princess. I was the practical one. My scholarships were ignored. Her bad grades were celebrated. For 30 years I was second best. But when I got my promotion to director, suddenly they saw me. Suddenly they needed my help for a new car. I paid for a year. Until today. With appendicitis on a stretcher, I asked them to pick up my son. They coldly said no. Eva's party. I finally understood. I wasn't invisible. I was an ATM, and my service had just been canceled. Have you ever felt that your value to your family is tied to your usefulness? It's a heavy burden. We want to hear your story. Join our community and follow Claudia's journey as she redefines what family means. I still remember the day Eva was born. I was 5 years old, and my mother and father told me I was going to be a big sister. They said it would be wonderful, that I would have a best friend for life. What they didn't mention was that I would also become invisible. Growing up in the Miller household meant learning early on that there was a clear hierarchy. Eva at the top and me somewhere below the family dog. It wasn't subtle either. Every morning my mother would make Eva breakfast to order. 2 sunny-side-up eggs, toast cut diagonally, just the way my princess likes it. Meanwhile, she'd toss a box of cereal in my direction. The differences appeared everywhere. When I needed braces, my father complained about the cost for months. 2 years later, Eva needed them too, and suddenly money was no issue. They even got her the fancy clear ones I had begged for but had been told I couldn't have. My perfect grades were met with distracted nods, while her C in math earned her a celebratory dinner at her favorite restaurant. Birthday parties were another sore spot. Mine were simple affairs. A supermarket cake, a few friends in the backyard. Eva's were full-blown productions with bounce houses, hired entertainers, and custom-made cakes. I once heard my mother tell her friend, "Well, it's just that Eva appreciates these things more. Claudia is so practical." The worst part was seeing Eva change. She started out as a sweet girl. We used to build blanket forts together and make up silly stories, but year after year of being treated like she could do no wrong took its toll. By the time she reached middle school, she had become exactly what you would expect. "Claudia, where is my blue sweater?" she would demand, ransacking my closet without permission. "That's mine, Eva. Mom bought it for my birthday." "Well, she needs it for her friend's party." "Mom, Claudia doesn't want to share." And inevitably, "Claudia, don't be selfish. Let your sister borrow it." I learned to pick my battles, to expect nothing, to find validation elsewhere. School became my sanctuary. While Eva was showered with praise for participating in the school play, where she had 2 lines, I was winning science fairs, getting top grades in advanced classes, and quietly building my escape plan. When my acceptance letter from a prestigious university arrived with a full scholarship, I thought maybe, just maybe, they would be proud. Instead, dinner that night was dominated by Eva's dramatic recounting of her 7th grade student council election campaign. "Mom, I got a full scholarship." I tried to interject during a rare pause. My mother's response was dismissive. "That's nice, honey. Eva, sweetie, tell us more about your campaign posters." During those early college years, I only went home for major holidays, and even then I counted the minutes until I could leave. Every visit was the same. Eva's achievements took center stage, while my mentions on the dean's list and internship offers barely warranted a glance. I learned to keep my visits short and my expectations shorter. The moment finals were over every semester, I went back to my dorm room, where at least my achievements were my own and nobody compared them to a younger sister's mediocre ones. During my junior year in college, I received a Facebook message that would change my life. "Hi, remember me? It's Ethan from Lincoln High School. I was a senior when you were a freshman." Of course I remembered him, the handsome guy on the debate team who had never given me a second look back then. We started chatting daily, sharing college stories and high school memories. He was working as an engineer back in our hometown, and something just clicked between us. After graduation, I returned home and got a job at a major consulting firm as a project manager. Ethan and I met for coffee my first week back. That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into dates, and before I knew it, we were apartment hunting together. The only dark cloud was my parents' continued indifference. They barely acknowledged my new job or relationship, too busy worrying about Eva's college experience. She's having such a hard time adjusting, my mother would sigh during our rare phone calls. Not everyone can just breeze through college like you did, but I had his family to make up for it. His parents, David and Susan, welcomed me like the daughter they never had. And his sister, Chloe, became the sister I always wished Eva could be. They came over for weekly dinners, helped us furnish our apartment, and genuinely cared about my career progress. "We are so proud of you too," Susan said at our small wedding 2 years later. It was a simple ceremony in his parents' backyard with just close friends and family. My parents came, of course, but they spent most of the reception talking about Eva's summer internship. Life felt perfect. I was excelling at work, happily married, and finally part of a family that valued me. When I got pregnant a couple of years after the wedding, I thought things couldn't get any better. Our son, Leo, was born healthy and beautiful, and my now ex-husband seemed in every way the devoted father. But something changed after Leo turned 1. He became distant, started working late, and canceled our date nights. I tried to tell myself it was just new parent stress, but deep down I knew it was more. The confession came on an ordinary Tuesday night. I was feeding Leo in his high chair when he walked in, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His voice shook. "I need to tell you something," he said. "I've met someone else. She's a client at work, and I have deep feelings for her." The divorce was fast and surprisingly civilized. He moved to Colorado with his new partner but insisted on paying generous alimony and child support. "I might have been a terrible husband," he said during our last meeting with our attorneys, "but I won't be a terrible father." I sat in my lawyer's office after signing the final papers, holding Leo close. At 2 years old, he was too young to understand why Daddy wasn't coming home anymore. After the divorce, his family became my lifeline. Despite everything that happened with their son, David and Susan remained devoted grandparents to Leo. And Chloe was the best aunt a kid could ask for. Leo would light up every time we visited their house, running straight to the toy corner they had set up especially for him. David would get on the floor to play with trucks, and Chloe always had some new game or craft project planned. My own parents' house was a completely different story. I tried to visit them occasionally, hoping they would want to build a relationship with their only grandson, but it was painful to watch their indifference. "Claudia, don't let him touch that vase," my mother would snap, barely looking up from her magazine. "And make sure he doesn't run too much. He'll scratch the hardwood floors." Leo would cling to my leg, sensing the cold atmosphere. The contrast became even more stark when Eva showed up during our visits. "There's my successful girl," my father would boom, beaming as Eva blew in like a gust of wind, talking about her new job at some trading company. They completely ignored Leo's attempts to show them his latest drawing, too busy hanging on Eva's every word about office politics and client meetings. Those visits became less and less frequent. Instead, I focused on what I could control: my career and creating a stable, loving home for Leo. With Chloe and her parents happy to help with Leo's childcare, I started taking on more challenging projects at work. The international account is high risk. My boss warned me when I volunteered to lead it. "Nobody has been able to close this deal in 3 years. I said firmly, "I can do it." And I did. 3 months of late nights, video calls across time zones, and detailed proposals later, I not only closed the deal but expanded it to twice its original size. More successful projects followed, each building my reputation further, until I was the go-to person for our toughest clients. The promotion to senior director came with a corner office and a salary that made my eyes water. To Claudia Miller, my team toasted after landing a major tech account, the miracle worker. The bonus from that deal was the final piece I needed. That weekend I took Leo house hunting. "This one has a park nearby," the real estate agent said, showing us a beautiful 3-bedroom condo. "And the school district is excellent." Leo ran from room to room, excited to have his own space for all his toys. I watched him while I opened the calculator app on my phone, checking the mortgage numbers. "We'll take it," I said. That night, as I tucked Leo into his bed in our old apartment for one of the last times, he asked, "Mommy, are we really going to have a new home with my own room?" "With your own room, a special art corner and space for all your books." He hugged me tight. "You're the best mommy in the world." In that moment I realized something. Even though I couldn't change my past, I could break the cycle. My son would never doubt his worth or feel second best. It was amazing how quickly things changed after word got out about my promotion and my new home. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother. "Honey, we haven't seen you or Leo in ages. Why don't you come over this weekend?" I almost dropped my coffee. This was the same woman who had spent the last 5 years barely acknowledging my existence. I thought about Leo, who still asked about his grandparents sometimes. Maybe, just maybe, people can change. The following weekend I took Leo to their house. The difference was startling. "There's my favorite grandson," my father yelled as we walked in. Considering Leo was his only grandson, this wasn't saying much, but still. "Look what Grandma bought you." My mother pulled out a new toy truck, something she had never done before. "And I made cookies. You like chocolate chip, right, Leo?" Too young to remember their previous indifference, he was thrilled. I watched as my mother actually sat on the floor to play with him, something I had never seen her do. "Claudia, honey," my mother said later, while Leo was busy with his new truck. "We'd love to have him over more often, maybe some weekends. You must need a break sometimes." It was surreal, but I decided to go with the flow. What was that saying? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Over the next few months, my parents became surprisingly involved grandparents. They started asking for Leo to stay over on weekends, and I used that time to catch up with Chloe. "You seem happier," Chloe observed during one of our shopping trips. "More relaxed." "It's nice to see them finally making an effort," I admitted, even if I know why. The why became clearer when the small requests started rolling in. At first, my mother needed help with the plumber's bill. My father's watch needed repairing. Little things that were easy enough to cover with my new salary. "Sure, I'll help," I would say each time, remembering all the dance lessons and summer camps they had paid for Eva but denied me. It felt good, in a way, to be the one they turned to now. Then I heard about Eva through the family grapevine. Her job at the trading company wasn't going as planned. She'd been passed over for several promotions. "It's just office politics," my mother defended during one of our newly regular family dinners. "They don't recognize talent there." The requests for money grew. A new refrigerator, home repairs. Then came the big one. "Honey," my father said one Sunday while Leo was napping upstairs, "we've been thinking about buying a new car. The payments would be a bit steep for us, but with your new position," they named a figure that would have made me choke a year ago. Now it was manageable. "We'll pay you back," my mother assured me. We both knew they wouldn't. I agreed anyway. Maybe it was validation I was buying, or maybe I just wanted to prove something to myself. Either way, I started sending them a check every month for the car payments. "Just be careful," Chloe told me over coffee the next day. "Money has a way of complicating things." I nodded, but inside I was thinking, how complicated could it get? I have more than enough. And if buying my parents' attention means Leo has grandparents in his life, isn't it worth it? It started as a normal Tuesday at work. I was in the middle of a client presentation when the first wave of pain hit me, sharp and sudden, making me double over in my chair. "Call an ambulance," I heard someone say. "She's pale as a ghost." Everything after that became a blur of movement and voices. Paramedics arrived quickly, helping me onto a stretcher as I tried to focus through the waves of pain. "Classic appendicitis symptoms," one of them said. "We need to get her to the nearest hospital right away." Through the haze of pain, one crystal-clear thought broke through Leo. He needed to be picked up from school in 2 hours. At the hospital, the diagnosis was fast and definitive. "Your appendix needs to come out," the doctor said. "We haven't already. You'll need to stay at least 2 days after the surgery." I managed to say, "I need to make a phone call first. My son." The nurse handed me my phone, and I dialed my mother's number with trembling fingers. She answered on the 4th ring. "Mom," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm in the hospital. It's my appendix. They need to operate right away. Could you please pick up Leo from school? I'll need someone to watch him for a couple of days while I recover." There was a pause. Then, "Oh honey, that's not possible. Your father and I are getting ready for Eva's promotion party. They finally made her a junior executive at her company. The pain in my stomach was nothing compared to what I felt in my chest. Mom, please, I need help. Leo needs to be picked up in less than 2 hours. Well, that really isn't our problem. Her voice turned suddenly cold. We're in a rush to get to a restaurant where there will be 50 people. We can't be babysitting. Babysitting? He's your grandson. Look, Claudia, she sighed, as if I were the unreasonable one. Leo is your responsibility. He's always so loud and touches everything. He's really a huge burden. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A burden? After everything I've done for you? I've been paying your car loan for the last year. Every time you needed money, she cut me off with a laugh that chilled me to the bone. Oh, we won't be needing your little handouts anymore. Eva's new position comes with an excellent salary. She's going to help us instead of you. The line went dead. I lay there in the hospital bed, the phone still pressed to my ear, tears mixing with the sweat on my face. All those months helping them, all that money, all those weekends playing happy family, and it came down to this. The moment someone better came along, Leo and I were back to being inconveniences, afterthoughts. The nurse touched my arm gently. Ms. Miller, we really need to prep you for surgery now. I nodded, already searching for Chloe's number on my phone. She answered on the first ring. My voice cracked. Chloe, I'm in the hospital. Appendicitis. They're prepping me for surgery. Could you please pick up Leo from school? I hate to ask. Stop. Just text me the school details. She interrupted immediately. What time does he need to be picked up? 2:30. Chloe, I am so sorry for the trouble. Stop it. Leo is my nephew. Of course I'll go get him. We'll have a sleepover at my house, right? Besides, he loves playing with Buddy. I could hear her grabbing her keys in the background. I whispered, thank you, as tears streamed down my face. I called my parents first. They'll hear from me later, she said firmly. Focus on getting better. Leo will be fine with me, I promise you. The next thing I remember is waking up in recovery, groggy from the anesthesia. My first coherent thought was about Leo, but there was already a message from Chloe waiting. Leo is having a blast. We made pizza and built a blanket fort. Don't worry about anything except recovering. She sent pictures over the next 2 days. Leo playing with her dog, Buddy, helping her bake cookies, falling asleep in the middle of a pile of stuffed animals. Each one made my heart squeeze with gratitude. When I was finally discharged, Chloe drove me to her place to pick up Leo. He ran toward me the moment I walked in, stopping just short when he remembered Mommy was sore. Aunt Chloe let me help make breakfast every morning, and Buddy slept in my blanket fort. Chloe helped us get home, stocked our fridge, and promised to visit daily. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of recovery, with Chloe bringing meals and keeping Leo entertained when I needed to rest. One night, scrolling through social media during Leo's story time, I saw them. Dozens of photos from Eva's promotion party, posted the same day I was in the hospital. My mother and father, beaming with pride next to Eva in her designer dress. Champagne toasts and elaborate cake, everyone laughing and celebrating while I lay in a hospital bed. Their grandson discarded as a burden. That night, after Leo fell asleep, I sat in front of my computer. First, I canceled the automatic monthly transfer to my parents' account for their car payment. Then, I blocked them on all social media platforms. Looking at the framed photo on my desk, Leo and me at the park, both laughing while Buddy, Chloe's dog, chased bubbles around us, I felt something shift inside me. All these years I had been trying to buy my parents' love with money and tolerance. But real family picks you up from the hospital. Real family builds blanket forts with your kid. Real family shows up. 3 months have passed, and life has fallen into a peaceful rhythm. Chloe and her parents are regular figures in our lives, filling our weekends with barbecues, park visits, and movie nights. Then on a quiet Sunday afternoon my phone rang. My mother's number flashed on the screen. I stared at it for a moment, my hand hovering over the reject button before deciding to answer. Her voice had that sickeningly sweet tone she always used when she wanted something. Claudia. How are you, sweetie? What do you want, Mom? A theatrical sigh. Well, since you ask, your father and I are in a little situation with the car payments. I felt a laugh bubbling up in my chest, but I held it in. Oh, really? Yes, you see. She paused for dramatic effect. We thought Eva would help us with her new position and all, but when we asked her, she flat out refused. Can you believe it? She said she had her own expenses to worry about, after everything we've done for her. The irony was almost too much. We were hoping, she continued, her voice growing smaller, that maybe you could start helping with the payments again, just until we figure something else out. This time I couldn't hold back the laugh. It came out of me sharp and bitter. Claudia, it's not funny. We could lose the car. Do you know what's funny, Mom? 3 months ago I was being rushed into emergency surgery, and you called my son, your grandson, a burden. You couldn't be bothered to help us because you were too busy celebrating Eva's promotion. The same Eva who now won't give you a dime. We were busy that day. You know how those events are. No, Mom, I know exactly what it was. I was useful when I was paying your bills. The minute you thought Eva could replace me as your personal ATM, Leo and I went back to being inconveniences. That's not fair. We have always what? Always favored Eva? Always treated me like I was second best? Always took my help for granted until something better came along. Claudia, please. You called my financial help little handouts, remember? Right before hanging up on me when I was in the hospital. Well, the handouts are over. I am done trying to buy your love. I'm done watching you treat my son like he's worth less than Eva's designer bags. I am simply done. But the car, I interrupted her with another laugh, this one lighter, almost free. Not my problem anymore. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up and blocked her number. Then I did the same with my father's. Through the open window, I could hear Leo in the backyard laughing as he played with Chloe and Buddy. Real laughter, real love, real family. The calls started coming in waves. First from my mother's phone, then my father's. Since I didn't answer, their voicemails ranged from tearful pleas to furious demands. The text messages were no better. Claudia, please, we are your parents. This is so selfish of you. We will lose the car because of you. Every message only confirmed that I had made the right decision. Not a single one mentioned Leo. Not a single one expressed regret for how they treated us. It was all about them, their needs, their car, their feelings. After a week of this, I had had enough. I blocked their numbers completely. I set up email filters to send their messages straight to the trash, and finally I felt like I could breathe again. Are you okay? Chloe asked me one Sunday afternoon as we watched Leo and Buddy chase each other around her parents' backyard. David was at the grill, and Susan was setting the patio table for our weekly family dinner. You know what? I really am. I accepted the lemonade she offered. I keep waiting to feel guilty or sad, but mostly I just feel free. You gave them more chances than they deserved, she said, squeezing my hand. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. Mommy, look what Grandpa David taught me. Leo came running, proudly showing off a new trick with the frisbee. I watched as David left the grill to help Leo perfect his throw, while Susan shouted encouragement from the patio. This is how family should be. People who show up not just for the good times, but for the hospital trips and the school pickups. These days, I don't know if my parents still have their car, or if Eva finally stepped up to help them. I don't know if they still throw elaborate parties or lament their ungrateful eldest daughter. I don't check their social media. I don't ask mutual acquaintances about them. I don't drive by their house when I'm in the neighborhood. What I do know is this. Leo has never asked about them since that day. Kids are intuitive. They know who truly loves them. He has grandparents who never miss a school play, an aunt who builds blanket forts with him, and a mom who finally learned that love shouldn't come with conditions. Last week, Leo brought home a family tree project from school. He had drawn David and Susan right next to me with Chloe and Buddy close by. His dad had a little branch of his own. We have kept things cordial there, with regular video calls and visits on holidays. But my parents and Eva weren't on the paper at all. Is it okay like this, Mommy? He asked, showing me his work. My teacher said family trees usually have more people, but I told her these are the only ones we need. I hung his drawing on the refrigerator, right next to the picture from his last birthday party, all of us around the cake with genuine smiles on every face. It's perfect, my love, I told him. Absolutely perfect. Sometimes the family you are born into isn't the family you are meant to have. Sometimes you have to let go of the people who should have loved you to make room for the people who actually do. It took 32 years to learn that lesson, but watching Leo grow up surrounded by real unconditional love, I would say it was worth it. Comment. Letting go of people we are supposed to love is one of the hardest things we will ever have to do. We often spend years trying to prove our worth to those who simply refuse to see it. Walking away from a toxic dynamic is not an act of selfishness, but a necessary step to protect your peace. Family is not always defined by biology or a shared last name. It is built on mutual respect, genuine presence, and unconditional support during your hardest moments. Breaking a cycle of neglect requires immense courage and a deep commitment to treating the next generation better. When you finally stop chasing conditional approval, you make room for people who celebrate you just for being yourself. I hope you always remember that your value is never tied to what you can provide for others. Please share how you have learned to set healthy boundaries in the comments below. Take care of your heart and keep surrounding yourself with real love. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.